Yeah. How are you? I think there's one person who's just joined. So good morning to that one person. Um, Let me have a look. So yesterday I had some things in mind and none of them happened. This is all on the local time frames, so not really of interest to most people. I had it in mind to long the swing failure of this local range, and obviously I didn't see any of these things happen. So I will delete and relook at this on the local time frame. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see what the volume is like to see if there are any changes. Nothing. Then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to imagine this whole thing as a range as well. So let me do that. So this candle that comes into this range, pull it, and so basically of this whole down move at the moment, we're just above the point of control. Which is in the high of the value area. As long as the price is above it, it's bullish. But if the price should drop underneath it, it becomes bearish. So that's something to bear in mind when considering trades. And ideally, really, you want the point of control in the low of the range. When you draw these volume ranges, you need the point of control in the bottom of the range, not in the top. And the reason why is because usually people are looking to long the lows, and if the point of control is in the top, then you're longing into resistance. That's fundamentally the problem with a high volume nodes, the higher in above you when you're longing. So it's something to bear in mind. I'll quickly have a look at XO charts to see if I see anything interesting. Quickly, I won't spend time on it because I don't really want to make a long stream today either. I've got a busy day. Okay, so I'm zooming out a little bit. Okay, so we have bearish CVD now, right? So I've explained this before, and I'll just keep on explaining it just in case. I think the more I explain it, the more you'll understand, and it's good to explain things repetitively. Good morning. I've got a few more viewers, so good morning. If you say hi, I'll say hi back. Yeah. So basically what you've got is you've got this CVD, which is your delta, which are market longs. You see this this yellow line. You see how it's going up, and basically the CVD has now crossed this previous high on the CVD chart, on this indicator. You see that? So this high is higher than this previous high, and then when you correspond it to the price, you can see that the price is still lower than the price which corresponds to where the CVD is lower. So the price at the moment is higher, the CVD is lower, the CVD here is higher, the price is lower. Okay, so that indicates absorption. Good morning, Craig. How are you? Yeah, so that indicates absorption, and what it basically is suggesting is that you've got big limit shorts, sells, and limit sells don't appear on this chart. So the only thing that's appearing here is market. So what we can see now, the market longs coming in, and they're being absorbed because the CVD is going up, but the price isn't. So they're longing into limit sales, into limit orders. They're longing into big limit orders. So look, do you see this candle here? I'm going to show you. So you see this one here. Someone has literally longed. It's $1.1 million dollars on open interest. See the open interest bar goes up. So that's a leveraged long. And the price hasn't gone up. The price is being absorbed. See that? So they're longing. And now here you've got shorts as well. You see these? So the open interest goes up and the price comes down. These are shorts. So the shorts are pushing the price down, but the longs aren't. So there's definitely some kind of bearish CVD divergence in play right now. And so generally speaking, the rule is this: if you see this kind of divergence, you don't go against it, even if you're bullish. You don't fight whales who are selling spot. You don't fight them because they just have too much spot to sell. And there's no way that small me is going to be able to fill their bags or empty their bags in the context of this. So just, I think if you're looking to long, you'd have to be careful. So based on this new information that we've just gathered, you can go back, we can go back to the charts and then see if that corresponds to what we're looking at. And yeah, look, the point of control is in the highs on both of these ranges that I've drawn, this local range and this wider range. And that, generally speaking, in my mind, that means bearishness, because the volume is at the high of the range. So you really want the volume to be at the low of the range, not at the high of the range, and you want the price to be above the point of control. Hi Dan from Switzerland, welcome. I've never seen you before, but welcome. Yeah, I hope I can help. So yeah, so I think there's a little bit of bearishness going on here. The other thing I was looking at, which interested me, was on these green candles, on these daily green candles, I can see the volume is kind of decreasing. So you kind of want increasing volume, and we're not really getting that. At the very least, you want volume that's pretty much not decreasing. So I'm kind of thinking it's possible that we do go down again. And this is a just in the context of what I saw on EXO charts just a minute ago, and also with this point of control being at the highs, it's something to note. So I don't know if it's a good idea to long here. So I had a long plan for yesterday to take this SFP of this lows, so I'll cancel that. So you just have to reevaluate every time you get new information. And I guess you possibly looking for a short now, you know, that's possibly what I'd be probably looking for. And I think there's two ways to short this. You're looking for an SFP of the local range highs, and so you have a few, get rid of these, because we're at the good place to short. We're in the value area high of this range. So you'd either be looking for a swing failure of one of these pivots, and you can just, it's either this one really, it's either this one here or this one over here. So these are kind of your two pivots that you'd be looking to short if you get a swing failure of those. Or I think if we just lost this local range, you could probably short that too. Probably we lose this local range up here, and your targets would probably be the local golden pocket of this move up here. You wouldn't aim for lower. you take your profit and then you see what happens. Where did it go? Oh, I think I lagged out. I think I disconnected and it reconnected. That's probably why my lines didn't draw out. Apologies for that. Oh my god. Back to travel. How annoying is that? All right, let's do that again. So you have a little bit of a high volume there. So you have a little bit of confluence here. So you definitely would be, if you were to short, you'd be looking to take profit. I mean, I don't like to just short. Yeah, I want some kind of, you have an invalidation, right? We have an invalidation to short. We have these pivot highs. And I don't like just shorting like that, because it's the way the market works. It's very possible that if you have your invalidation there, that the price would go up, stop people out, and go down. It's very possible. Like the way the exchanges and the market works is that that's how they make their money, because people then get liquidated, and they get liquidated up at market price. So that's when they pay the most fees, and that's how the exchanges are making a lot of money. So market makers like to do this or create this kind of behavior, and obviously then the entry is going to be the swing failure, and you have your invalidation, and then you have to take profit quite quickly because you are shorting into the point of control. So it's also possible that the price goes up and continues and bounces. It's always possible. So you have to bear that in mind. You're shorting into resistance, and so you would want to do that. And then also, it's also very possible, because we are kind of doing this. It's very possible it just continues and it goes back up. And it just continues doing this, and it just keeps on punishing shorts. At the moment, it looks like we are making higher lows on this local range. So clearly, an easier short would be, rather than trying to take the short and trying to catch the SFPs every time. I think it's a very good trade to have. So, but you would have to take profit, so you don't get, if you get stopped out, then you're still in profit because you've taken most of your profit. But obviously, I think because we are making higher lows, it's probably the better short in the context of the bearish CVD that I saw, would be to just close underneath, close underneath, maybe just close outside of this value area low, like a close, not a wick, like a proper close underneath one of these wicks, because that's something that I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing closes underneath the lows of the wicks. You've got these wick lows, and this doesn't count because you had a wick first. So this actually is a reversal pattern on the candle structure, because you had the wick first, and then the close of the candles that came afterwards was inside of this wick that appeared. Slightly different situation. So I think maybe if we get a close underneath this wick, like a close, then I think it's possible to short that. That would be your signal. And obviously, if it closes underneath the value area low, that would be even better. And that would be very different behavior to what we're seeing now. And then maybe you'd get a little pullback, and then it will be a breakdown to the next kind of area. And what you have, these green candles here, so there's not much support in the way of market structure, so you'd expect the price to slip down. This would be a take profit zone, it wouldn't be a long zone. And the reason why is because you really want to long into kind of some kind of order block, or some kind of probably lower I don't think you'd want a long just in the middle of these green candles. You want to come, probably if you're looking for a long, it'd be somewhere here. Probably this line that I've got drawn here, much lower. So I think in the context of what I'm seeing, I'd be looking for a short. I'll be looking for a close, and then I wouldn't have a big invalidation, to be honest with you, because I think the idea is this, that if we are breaking down like that, this is the idea. If we do close underneath this, I mean, honestly, I prefer a close underneath this one, just simply because it matches with the value area low. Yeah. So you get a close underneath here. And I think you don't expect the price to come back above the POC. Like that would be like the limit of your invalidation, and you're still getting a good risk to reward on your trade. You're looking at a 1 to 2.37 according to this. You could probably hone it down to get a better risk to reward ratio, but you'd have to see how the price behaves and the volume that comes in. So I think that's a perfectly acceptable short, but the trigger, because you're potentially shorting the low of this range, the trigger would be some kind of a difference of behavior. And in my mind, the close underneath this candle here, underneath the value area low, would be the trigger. And obviously it'd be better to get a short at the top here, but again, the danger of a short at the top again is the same. It could just go up like this for the rest of the day. So possibly, I think you'd probably be thinking, maybe if this behavior continues throughout the course of today, then probably you'd be looking to short later on in the evening, if we get up there about 9 something towards the end of the day. Probably not early in the day, like now. Probably not now. And then maybe you have a little breakdown with the new daily candle that forms, and possibly that would match up with what we're seeing in these daily candles, because you know we had a little bounce, possibly 3 daily green candles, decreasing volume. Don't see why we don't drop again to the next red candle, just to pick up liquidity. And you have this daily level here as well, so you definitely have to take profit somewhere there, which would probably line up with where I've got the golden pocket marked out here, probably. And then you take your profit, you'd still have a little bit of the trade left, and then you see what happens, and it could go down low. So I watched the stream on Chart Champions. I won't delete these because I like to keep them for reference for tomorrow. Let me just create that rename. Just add that there. What else I'm going to do? I'm going to add an alert as well, because I think I might take this trade. It's good to set alerts. So I'm going to do an alert on this top. Let's be sure. And then I'm also going to put alert on this low here. And then it's good when you do alerts, when you make alerts, write down what it is you want to do. So short on close underneath previous low and value area low. Because when you're looking at your phone, you get you get an alert. You're like, what was that? I can't remember, because you're in the middle of something. So it's good to write down what you wanted to intend to do in that moment. So when you look at your phone, you know exactly what you want, what you need to look for. And then you look at the chart, you see if you see you like the price action, and then you just take the trade and you risk your 0.5% or 1%. Probably you could start with half if you're not sure, or less. And then if you've got good risk if you've got good risk management, then you can just, that's fine, just do what you do. But that's just a trade. All right, so I was watching the stream from Chart Champions, which I said I was going to watch. And so Daniel, I don't know if anyone's heard of him, he's quite a good trader, and he was explaining his Elliott wave count, and then I said I would go over it in this stream. So I will, just briefly. Let me have a look at the, so he was using the Coinbase Bitcoin chart. I use the index for my Elliott waves, just because I like to have more information. Coinbase only goes back to like 2015 or 16 or something like that, and then with the index it goes back further. So that's the index, and he was looking at the price chart. I hate looking at the price chart. I always prefer looking at the log chart. I don't know why, but I mean, everyone's got their own preferences. So a couple of interesting things that I got from his stream, and it's good to like watch and see what other people are doing, because it just kind of helps you to see if you're also have the right ideas, you're on track, or if you're completely off the ball. And basically he was saying, well, let me just get rid of this and this. Do I have my original EW? Nope. That's not it. Is that it? Nope. Nope. That sucks. You know, once upon a time I had this really higher time frame EW count, and I must have deleted it. It's a bit annoying. Right, never mind. I think I have it actually. I think I took a screenshot, so let me see if I can find it. 1 second. I'm gonna have a look on my phone. Give me a second, let me see if I can find it. I just want to see what he drew, and then I can show you. It just saves you just subscribing to his content. What is that? Okay, I can just hide that. Let me find it, because I just pasted it to David on Signal. Let me just get it. 1 second. I'm gonna copy and paste it now. So that's his count. So basically he thinks that we're in the one now, or he was contemplating a bearish count, which is a WXY, and that would consist of an ABC, 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 right? So he's still contemplating a bearish count. So he was coming up, first he did a bearish count, so he was saying the bearish count hasn't been invalidated yet. And so the way it works with Elliott waves is there's usually always a bearish count and the bullish count that run synchronously together. Most of the time people don't talk about the bearish counts because everyone is so bullish, but he always starts with the bearish count first, especially if it hasn't been invalidated. And so basically the way he was explaining, he was saying the bearish count hasn't been invalidated yet. So I don't need to go over all of his points because I don't think it's necessary, but let me just kind of put that on the edge just as reference. And obviously he's using the price chart there, so let me just have a look at the price chart and see if I can kind of, so I think he's looking at this as the one, although he's marked it in letters, it doesn't really matter. So is that right? 4, 5, no, that's not right. 1, 2, where's the 2? Just open that again. Oh, that's the 2. So that was the 1. So he's basically, he's saying that just roughly, that's the 1 to the 2, that was the 3, that was the 4, that was the 5. So he was saying that's that, and now he's contemplating a corrective move. And so the question was whether you have like an ABC here, and then this one, is this an ABC for another ABC to form an XYZ? Do I even have XYZ on my chart? It must be here somewhere. There it is. So he's contemplating possibly something like that, and then that would consist of another ABC, which is that, and another ABC, something like that. Don't know how that would be. That's kind of what he's thinking in terms of a bearish count. That's basically it. So and then in his mind he was suggesting that the it would make sense for this to be a major pivot for a bearish higher low, lower high, because it's coming into a significant Fibonacci ratio, golden pocket on time. So it would make sense that this could be a bearish X, as he called it, if we are planning to go lower. And then his idea, and I don't know if I agree with this or not, because I just don't know. And I think he's not suggesting that this is what's happening. He likes to contemplate possibilities. He was saying possibly that there's a pitchfork in play. And in his mind, he was thinking maybe, yeah, who knows? I don't know. That's what he was saying. I don't really know. And then he wasn't contemplating trading this. He was just saying, this is not invalidated yet. So the bearish count isn't invalidated yet. So even though people are looking at this as a 5-wave up for the first wave to go up, he's saying that this bearish count hasn't been invalidated. And in his mind, his target for a bearish count was the 17,000 mark. That's what he was thinking. He was thinking the yearly open. And I think a lot of things would have to happen for us to get down there. And he was also suggesting that it is also possible to go up, to go down, you know, maybe in the halving when everyone is bullish and the price gets sold into again. Who knows? So I think there's a lot of things that have to happen before we get into this situation, and we're nowhere near there yet. And then the other thing that he was saying in his stream, which I agree with, let me just chuck this into chart champions. And I agree with this analysis, and And actually, if I go back to Bybit, it'll be better to see, because in terms of like the numbers, I don't know if people what charts everyone uses, but I think in terms of numbers, Bybit inverse perpetuals are probably the most accurate. Obviously you can use what you want, but when you're coming to like calculating to see whether something is a high or low, or something isn't a high or low, I think this is the chart to use: the BTC USD perpetual contract, the inverse perpetuals. And all of Chart Champions uses this chart to chart off. And I know different people they like have their favorite charts, and mainly because of the exchanges that they're trading on. But I think when it comes to analysis, you have to use the chart which consistently gives you the right information with respect to itself. And you know, some charts wick and they give you incorrect information. They overwick or they over close, and they give you a different kind of idea, not necessarily correct. So you might not be trading on Bybit, and a lot of people don't trade the Bybit inverse perpetuals. That's the only chart that I trade on. So I have Bitcoin, and then basically when I take a long, I'm leveraging Bitcoin to make Bitcoin. When I take a short, I'm leveraging Bitcoin to make Bitcoin. Yeah, it never comes back into USD. And for me, that just makes sense. But obviously people are using different charts. So use whatever exchange you're using to trade. But I think it's a good idea to use this chart when you're looking at the numbers. And then you have to correlate them with the other exchanges to see how they fit in. So basically what he was saying, which I agree with, was that on Bitcoin, ever since these lows, we've been making higher lows. Yeah. And basically, I agree. I already knew this, but I agree with what he said. So 2 days ago, when we came down to this low here, we didn't actually make a lower low. So if you zoom in, you'll see on Bybit that we still made a higher low. It was only by about a few dollars, maybe $4 or something like that. And technically, that's a higher low. Technically, that's not a lower low. And until market structure changes, you can't be bearish. And I think that's really important. Like, market structure has to change. So potentially, if we are going to make a lower low tomorrow, and I think tomorrow is possibly going to be quite volatile, so you have to bear that in mind. If we do make a lower low and then have a failed auction or a swing failure to come back up, that's a lower low, because we've made a higher low here. That's the higher high. People will be looking to trade the lower high. Yeah. Now, whether the lower high holds or not, that's a completely different conversation. But technically, wherever this low lands, people will be looking to short the golden pocket to make a lower high. They will be. That would be the trade to have. If we fail to continue after we make a lower low, if that's what's going to happen, then there will be a lower high trade, and then the confirmation, if you make a lower high, is another lower low. That would be the confirmation of a market structure change. And now we're in a downtrend according to market structure on the daily time frame. So you have a higher low here, higher high, potentially a lower low here. That would be your lower low, and that would be confirmation, which would be another lower low. That's what you're looking for. And then the market will get very bearish, like extremely bearish, very quickly. You'll get people shorting they'll be shorting every rise. Basically, that's what's going to happen. And it will continue until the market structure changes again. Yeah, so you have to bear that in mind. And we're definitely not there yet, by no means. And I think the first step hasn't been reached, which is a lower low. So you're looking for a lower low first. And then the question is going to be, and this is going to be a good question, because you have a cascade of lows here. And what I mean by that is that you know, some people will put their stop losses here, some people will put their stop losses here, some people will put their stop losses here. Yeah. Which one do you pick? Well, it doesn't really matter, because they're so close to each other that if you put your stop loss there, it's naturally going to stop everyone out. And so you have a cascade of stops here at the same time, potentially much more powerful if we go down, because all of a sudden all of these longs in this whole range, if they have their stop losses anywhere here, they're all going to get stopped out. And a stop is a market sell, so you're selling at market, which will move the price down. And that's going to be a question to see whether, after all of these longs which have been liquidated, does the price continue, or do you get some kind of swing failure, failed auction type behavior? And it would be very, I personally think it'd be quite bullish to clear out all of the liquidity from all of these highs, from the whole range like this. Even if we are making a lower low, I actually think that's quite bullish, because in my mind, I'm imagining there's a lot of leverage longs in this range. This range has been, after this range started on the beginning of December, the 4th of December, you've got a lot of people who've longed. You've got a lot of people who have their stops there. If the price goes down and liquidates all of these longs, you have a shed load of market shorts. And if the price, after all of that shorting, the price still comes back up above these lows, it's a lot of shorts for the price to come back up, you know. And for the price to come up after so much shorting, there's also a lot of buying. You see, you have to kind of see it in reverse. When you're imagining how the price moves, you have a shed load of shorting and the price still comes up. That's actually quite bullish. So even though potentially we're making a lower low, you have to understand that even though this is a lower low, there's no market structure change until you make a lower high and another lower low, until you make that kind of behavior. So what you could get into a situation, and this is possible, where this continues to range after you make that lower low and you squeeze up, and now you've made a higher high. So that lower low that you've just made automatically becomes your higher low. So the market structure continues, the bullish market structure continues in that circumstance. Yeah. So if you make a lower low and take out that low and the price continues to go up. Yeah. So actually I've done that wrong. It would be more like this. I'll show you. That becomes your lower low. And you go up and you get a whole bunch of people shorting, because they're going to be shorting the lower high. But the price only manages to do this before it squeezes and goes up to make a higher high. Then actually your market structure remains bullish, because this potential low low is now flips to become your higher low, because you've just made a higher high. That's how it works. So you have to bear this in mind. It's an ever-changing playing field, so to speak. You know, like, things can change based on the way the price moves. So it's quite important to see how things develop, and not to just be like, well, we've made a lower low now, therefore the price is going down. And that's why when you're taking trades, you always have to take your profit, because things could change and your idea could be invalidated just because the price goes the other way around. Yeah, so it's something to bear in mind. So I think, in my mind, I think there's a few things that need to happen before we become really bearish. And I'll go back to my other Bitcoin chart. Was that the one? Nope. Let me get all my stuff out because I can't remember. Was it this trend line? Yeah. Let me zoom out, see what that looks like. Ooh, got too many lines. Let me get rid of some of them. Don't want that. What is this? Get rid of that. Scan. We can hide that. Let's put it back on log. That's better. So I think we've got a few things that I need to see happen before I start getting bearish, like really ultra bearish on Bitcoin. I'm not contemplating really low prices because I don't think we have lost key trend lines and key channels. Yeah, and there's some arbitrary ones, like this trend line I have here is an arbitrary trend line, you know, and it's obviously still holding. And in my mind, obviously we have to lose that line first. And it, because I'm using the weekly chart, it's a little bit of a range. It's not necessarily an exact line. So you have to wait for the weekly candles to print to see how they behave. But I think, I mean, as long as we're holding this channel, it could still push us up. So I don't, and it's not a channel, it's like a back testing of a trend line potentially. So I think until we lose this on the weekly time frame, I wouldn't necessarily get bearish. And then beyond that, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, we have this higher time frame bull market channel. It clearly acted as support and resistance, and the midpoint was effective. It's clearly in play. So we've come above it now here, and it wasn't easy to get above it. If you look at the price action, it wasn't very easy. It took like potentially just over 2 weeks to get through it. It requires strength to do that, you know, to get above these, back into a channel, a higher time frame channel like that. It requires a lot of strength in the market. So naturally, I think it would be very weak for us to lose this channel. Like if we come down now and we start losing that, that will show a significant weakness. And you don't really want to see that, you know, when you're looking at the price action, you're looking at that behavior. And if we lose that channel, that wouldn't look good, would it? Like it doesn't really, it's not very pretty. And you would see, it would be a very easy to see sign of weakness. But then on the other hand, if we lost it and reclaimed it again, then that would be a massive sign of strength following a sign of weakness. So I like these channels, where these higher time frame channels, where you can clearly see weakness and you can clearly see strength. Yeah. And on both counts, you could, the minute you lose that channel, that's weakness, and you could short, and when you reclaim that kind of channel, you could long, you know, as long as you have an invalidation. That's quite pertinent. And then even if we were to lose this bull market channel, which is going to be, I think it's going to be quite difficult, but let's see. You have this much higher time frame fib channel, this green one that I've got painted, and basically I'm taking it from the COVID low to last year's low, and I'm just lining it up as much as possible where the top lines up with previous highs. I mean, this is all subjective, like everyone has their own idea of trend lines and stuff, and in my mind, you just have to make it match as much as possible. So nothing is right, it's just you know, you have to try and make it look as right as possible. There are other ways of drawing this, like I've seen other examples on Twitter where people are ignoring this COVID low, and what they're doing is they're doing some kind of, they do it from there, they kind of ignore the COVID low. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has their own like little biases. If this was in play, we're actually at the midpoint of that channel, you know. If I pull it up on red, you see we're actually up against the midpoint. I don't know if I like this or not, but it does also behave correctly because you have the pivot high there, you come to a back test there, there's clearly support and resistance here, you almost have a back test of the mid channel there, so this could be in play as well. There are signs that this could be reactive. I don't know. Sorry. Who knows? But I mean, even if this channel was, even if you have all of these channels in play, the reality is we're above all of the bottom channel lines. You know, there's a lot of support to get through for bearishness. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the point. And so in my mind, I'm not contemplating bearish Elliott waves. It just doesn't really make sense. But I mean, anything can happen, so who knows? And I think the first sign, and I think you don't have to worry about the lower channels. Just focus on the first one. When you're looking at charting and stuff, focus on the nearest line. Focus on the nearest level. So the nearest level in my mind is this one. Let's see if we lose this one first. And then let's see if we lose this lower one. And I think that would bring us down to about $38,000. So it's not far below us. Do we go down here, you know, form a little bit of a support, come back up, and then I'm kind of contemplating like an ABC here, like a flat correction on Bitcoin for a move up, and this is the one, and then I'm contemplating a flat 2, and I don't know how long it will last at the moment. But obviously the other thing that could happen, and we have to bear this in mind, is that this is continuing. This 5 is continuing, and I think a lot of people have it in their mind that just because we're about to print, or last week we printed this bearish inverse hammer, very bearish, they're contemplating that we're going down now because that's a really bearish candle with a very significant selling tail. And I think you won't know that because at the moment this week, it looks like we're about to, I don't know, because we have to see how the week candle closes, but it looks like there isn't much continuation on this bearish candle. And so next week would be very important to see what happens next week. If it's a red or green doji, it's probably going to be a doji, but we don't know how this is going to end. Are we going to end down here? Who knows? Yeah. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, tonight we end up with a doji. If it's red or green, then if next week ends up with a green candle up here, that's like almost like a reversal pattern in the highs. And especially if next week we close above the previous, i.e. this week's high, above that wick, then that would automatically look bullish again, you know. So you can't foresee the future based on a bias just because you see one candle when we haven't actually lost the range. We actually haven't made a new low, and we certainly haven't confirmed it with a lower high and then a lower low. There's a lot of things that have to happen. And I think this line is important too. So if I was to go a bit lower down, how far do you go? Do you go down to here? I'm not sure. Probably here, actually, to this one. It looks quite good, huh? There, here, coming in now to back test it. You know, it's possible. So we have to see how that plays out. And again, once the price starts going up again, people are going to get bullish again. So you might start getting aggressive longs. And then the onus is on the people who are shorting to determine if the price does make a lower high, assuming we make a lower low first, or if the price just squeezes up, you know. And if that was to happen, then your 5 wave is continuing. The 5 wave hasn't ended yet, potentially. If we continue to go up now, then the 5 wave hasn't ended. We're still going up. We're still in the 5 wave. We're not actually in a correction just yet. So that's something to bear in mind. And then the other thing I got from that stream that I was listening to was the targets. So he uses, and this is quite interesting, I like the way he did this. He was saying he will take it from the 0 to the 3, assuming that's the 3, to the 4. Is that right? Let me do it on Bybit. Put it back on price. One, two, three, four. Okay. So based on this, did he start there? Yeah, he started all the way down here at the lows. So he was basically saying, and I liked his idea actually. So it's good to take ideas. He was saying because we didn't have an expansive 1 or 2, or sorry, 1 or 3. So the Elliott wave count that he's contemplating is I've got it here. No, I'll just quickly draw it again. So he's basically contemplating a 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And he was saying that because the 1 and 2, sorry, the 1 and 3 were not expansive, he was saying that the 5 should be expansive, because at least one of the waves should be an expansive waves. So if you don't see the expansion in the 1 or the 3, then you're expecting a 5 to be expansive. And then basically the way he would do a trend base fib extension is from the 0 to the 3 to the 4, which is what I've done, and that will bring it all the way to the 1.618. So we are in an expansive move. And then I think the limit of the expansion in his calculation, if the 5 continues, would be to go up to the 2, and then that would line up with the value area high of this previous bull market on Bybit, potentially. So if I draw that again, there, here, see that blue line? That would line up with the previous value area high of the bull market. So if we do go up, that would be the target for Bitcoin, and then would see a correction. So depending on how the price behaves, are we still in the 5 to go up, or are we correcting now? Now, I think it'd be more bullish to have a flat correction if we're correcting now. if we see a deep correction now, I don't think that would be very bullish. But if we do go up to the value area high, I think that would also be bullish, and then we can see a deeper correction, because then it'd be easy to correct back into, you know, back into this range without going lower. We could correct all the way back to 40,000 for the next move up. That could work too. And then this whole arm becomes your one. You have an ABC correction, and then you're getting ready for a 3. Yeah. And honestly, I think this one has been so so bullish that potentially I think the 3 is going to be less bullish. That's what I'm imagining. Like, people are like, Bitcoin is going to 1 million, and I think that's rubbish. I think the wave 3 is going to, the way the wave 5, this wave 1 ends, is going to determine everything, because we'll be able to see what happens if this 5 goes all the way up to here. Then you're talking about a wave 1, which is basically that high. And if the 3, we have to see what the 3 does, because you'd have to see where you'd have to see how far this corrects, and then you have to see how far the 3 is, and then you can determine how bullish the next arm is. If the next arm can only go, if the next 3 can only go to there, like less than this wave 1, then the 5 is going to be even smaller. So you're actually basically looking for less distance each time. And obviously if the 3 is expansive, then the 5 could be even more expansive. But then that's the problem. If the 3 becomes really crazy, then it's also less likely that the 5 will be crazy too, because usually you'll have one crazy expansive move. And the question is, which one is it? Is it the one that we just had, or is it to come? So there's a few things to consider anyway. That's just by the by. Are there any questions, or anyone's chatting? I know that Dan said hi, and then Craig said hi, and I don't know if you guys are still listening. How many people? I've got 4 viewers. Yay. That's a lot, actually, because I started on 0 only a few weeks ago. And it's amazing because I've got 80 subscribers on YouTube. I'm surprised, like, from 0 a few weeks ago. So I guess there's that appetite for some Bitcoin explanations. All right. I think that's Bitcoin. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Happy to answer them. So TRVL, based on something that I learned today, because we know we're always learning, so it's good to learn. I was just thinking to myself, and it's going back to the Elliott wave count that I did before on TRVL, and I think I did it on the gate chart, so I'll go back to the gate chart to quickly have a look. Are we going? I'll go to the weekly chart. Now I should go to the daily chart. So there's a few things with Elliott wave, and so I've said this before, and I think a lot of people, you know, may be tuning in for the first time, so I'll say it again. We had a bit of an impulse here that started back in January, 1st of January 2023. Yeah. And so the reason why this isn't a wave 1 is because we made a new low here. Yeah. So we took the low out from here, and making a new low after you have a 0 to a 1, if this whole down move is a 2, then you can't make a new low. That invalidates the count. So this can't be this can't be the 3, this can't be a 2, can't be, because we made a new low, right? So that just explains that, and it makes it a lot easier to calculate Elliott waves, because the assumption now, after a lot of tokens are making their wave ones, and obviously Bitcoin leads the way, is that we are in a wave one, or we're about to form a wave one. Yeah. Now, I didn't initially think that this was a wave one, this first bit here, and naturally I've been longing everything, you know, I've been accumulating throughout the whole course of the last 2 years. I've been accumulating. I've been picking up TRVL at every low. You know, I think it's got a long-term future potential. I think we could kill Airbnb, literally. I really think it's possible. I don't see why it's not possible. I'm an Airbnb superhost. I've been doing it for over 8 years, more than 8 years. I'm a 5-star superhost on Airbnb, and I honestly think that this has a chance, and we're really early to the game. And I love the fact that it's all on the chain. All of the transactions are on the chain, even if they're fiat. And I love the fact that it's a peer-to-peer network. So there's no centralized entity controlling reservations and managing reservations. It's all peer-to-peer. So when someone books my apartment, the transaction is directly with me. The relationship is with the traveler direct. There's no interference from Airbnb. So Dtravel doesn't interfere. They create the platform to allow hosts and travelers to interact directly. And then people will ask, well, what about issues or problems? Well, in the first instance, there's insurance. So every reservation that is booked is covered by insurance package offered by Superhog, and that costs $12 per reservation, and that gives me a much more comprehensive insurance package than Airbnb's air cover. It's got more liability and it covers more damages. So in my mind, it's a better insurance package, so that solves that problem. And then the other issue is dispute resolution. And I don't know if people are very familiar with Airbnb. People have this kind of quiet confidence that Airbnb has the ability to resolve disputes, and they don't. Airbnb's dispute resolution policy is trash. It's the worst thing. You're dealing with people who aren't people, basically. You're dealing with people who have no common sense, fundamentally. The people who work at Airbnb are just, I can't describe the stupidity that exists in that environment, and I can't explain the why. I can't understand the why. There's no reason given to me how stupid people can be. And I've had this different issues in the past, and every time I deal with Airbnb personnel, they're just so frustratingly stupid. What can I say? They just, it's just, so if I have a problem, I don't bring it up with Airbnb anymore. Basically what I've done is I accept the cost, I accept the loss. It's part of my business model now. So if someone breaks something, then on average, no one's breaking anything. You know, like 1 out of 20 reservations are going to be bad. Yeah, so I accept the loss because it's it's less costly to deal like that than to deal with Airbnb. The time and energy spent dealing with Airbnb is much more costly, and ultimately they never side with the right anyway. They always side with themselves. So Airbnb Airbnb's approach is always themselves. Yeah, they're not really in favor of guests or hosts. They're always in favor of Airbnb. That's like really the bottom line when it comes to Airbnb. I think there's a lot of discontent with all the people who are hosting on Airbnb, and I'm on these forums, and maybe I should show people one day. I'll just go take them through Facebook and I'll go through all of the discontent. But there's a lot of people who are discontent and they're looking for alternatives. And now what a lot of Airbnb hosts are doing are trying to create their own direct booking websites. So there's a lot of competition out there now, and all of these are centralized Web 2 style businesses, and they can't offer what we offer because they haven't contemplated the future the way we're contemplating the future, which is Web 3, which is peer-to-peer. And so eventually all of these like small competitors are going to be destroyed because the market is going Web 3. The evolution or the iteration of the future is Web 3. It's peer-to-peer and it's on-chain. So eventually a lot of these businesses are going to basically stop functioning, because when people go Web 3, it's cheaper. It's just because less overheads, and a lot of people like the ability to manage their own data, to own their own data, to control their own businesses. And you can only really do that in Web 3. And it's kind of like the same idea of Bitcoin, where why is Bitcoin so popular is because people are in control of their own finances. And why is DeFi so popular is because people can manage their own, control their own finances. They don't trust, or they don't want to give that control to the banks. And that's part of the reason why DeFi and Web 3 is so popular with finance. And eventually that whole idea is going to permeate to the rest of society. Eventually everything is going to be peer-to-peer. Eventually it's going to happen, you know. And all it requires is that the startups to create those applications which are peer-to-peer, and that is the way it's going. And obviously you have a lot of scams in the midst of all of that, where you have bullshit tokens and not really peer-to-peer. But once you see through that and you see the true peer-to-peer applications, and you focus on those are the ones that are going to be groundbreaking for the future. And so I do see a future where Airbnb will have significant competition. I think it's going to be Dtravel. Personally, I think it's a good bet. Let's see how that pans out. Anyway, let's go back to the charts. So I wasn't initially thinking that this was a 1, but it is impulsive, but I was hoping for more impulse. Anyway, and then we have a ABC here, potentially. So if that's your ABC, does it go down to here or here? You know, like, I'm not sure. Maybe here or here. It's hard to know exactly. You could probably plot both. And then this was really impulsive. And so maybe this was the 3. But none of them were expansive. And so actually something that I was like registered with me when I was watching that stream from Chart Champions was that because none of these waves are expansive, I think maybe the next one will be an expansive wave. I am expecting an expansive wave, yeah, where the price expands, and that will be there'll be a new markup in price. So we haven't had that yet, and we're still in the lows. So we're going to have that. Eventually we're going to have an expansive move where the price expands. And the caveat for this being a 3 to 4 is that the 4 cannot come underneath the 1. That's the rule. If this is the 1 and if this is the 4, then the price cannot come underneath this level. So this effectively becomes the new floor, effectively, for the price. Yeah. Now, what if what if this is this, what if we lose this level? Yeah, well, if we lose this level and come back into the range, then this is no longer a 4, which means that this is no longer a 3, which means that this may no longer be our 1, which means that we may not have even had a 1 yet. Yeah, so there's a lot of maybes and ifs, and then maybe also, and I don't want to, like, I am bullish on this project, and I think we're in the lows, and it's an extremely small market cap token at the moment. But if we are going down for whatever reason, I think if we were to fall back into this range, then I think that would be quite bearish. And I'm not selling, just simply because I think we're in the lows. There's no reason to sell at the beginning of a market cycle which is bullish. I'm not looking to sell. I didn't sell up there. I'm definitely not going to sell down here. Actually, I'll be looking to pick up a shitload more tokens if we go further down. You know, like that's my mental state right now. But I am preparing myself for that possibility. If we do get back into this range for whatever reason, I think that is quite bearish. Like, I want to just lay that out, because that line hasn't been held, and this is no longer a 4, and maybe we're still in a more of a corrective pattern, because the momentum has clearly been down for the whole course of the last 2 years. Yeah, and therefore that becomes bearish. Now, I think that then we'll be contemplating a final shakeout. Yeah, and these shakeouts always happen in the markets, and ultimately it clears out the weak hands. Like, people who are looking for the short-term quick gains will be shaken out, who aren't in it for the long hodl, and those who are in a long hodl who have the kind of the conviction of their own analysis and their own research will look to pick up more tokens at a cheap price. But potentially then you're looking for another move, another kind of sweep of the lows, or these local lows, to see how far the price will get. And then a clear sign of weakness will be getting back into this range, and a clear sign of strength will be to lose the range and to get back into the range. It's the reverse. Yeah, so that kind of behavior, while it's both weak, it's also potentially quite strong, and it also gives people one last chance to pick up this token at a ridiculously low price. Yeah, so I just want to prepare people for something that could happen. But obviously then if it was to get back into the range there, that's a sign of strength. Following a sign of weakness, and also making a higher low, is also a sign of strength. And I think then if we were to do that, that would be your 0. That would be your 0 to 1, or 1, 2, 3, or maybe this whole then this is your 1. So this is what I'm contemplating. Maybe that's your 1, this is your 2, and we haven't started our 3 yet. Yeah, that was your 1. This is your 2, and then we're about to start a 3, right? So there's a few things happening here which could happen. Yeah, and I think it's really important in terms of price for us to continue now is to hold this line. So this is, so this line here, holding that line will determine the future and how we calculate the counts. Yeah, and then we'll know. I think getting back into the range is bearish. I think people will sell when we get back into the range. There'll be a lot of selling, and we have to see how that selling plays out, because ultimately there might be so much demand, and this is how we'll know. Like, there's clearly a range here. We get back into the range, people will start selling. If you just hold the range some more and you don't actually go down, you're just back in the range for a little bit, you could just go back up again, you know, like it doesn't have to go down. Yeah, so the time would matter. Like if you fall back into the range and you quickly go down, then yeah, then you know the selling has over, there isn't enough interest to buy, then you'll be looking for buying lower. Then we have to see if that comes back up, then that's bullish, and then you'll start getting people buy again. Yeah, that's kind of how it will behave. But I'm not contemplating that, because I actually like the current price action. When I look at the volume, I can see clearly that there's a reduction in volume. Yeah, you see that? And so you have this reduction in volume and a drop in price, and it's kind of like a consolidation range at the moment, and I like the volume is reducing. So to me that tells me that the selling is kind of slowly coming to an end, and obviously that can change. Like all it would take is one person to just market sell a shitload of tokens, and then we'll know, because it could wick down. Like you have a definite level here, the price could wick down, catch liquidity at this daily level here in this candle, and if the price closes back above that level, that's also bullish. Yeah, because you haven't actually lost that range, you've only just gone down to capture some liquidity, shake out a few people, but then the price is still bullish because you're still above, you haven't lost that level. Yeah, so I'm just kind of laying out the possible scenarios for how this could play out, and we don't know. No one knows. Yeah, so it's good to have an idea of what could happen. Now when it comes to the Elliott waves, if this was a 1, that was a 1. If this 2, I mean, I'm thinking to this point here personally, but you know, I'm going to try this one here as well. That was the 3. If this is the 4 to that, then if we want an expansive 5, if we want an expansive 5, that's kind of what we're expecting, then maybe what you would do is you do this trend basic fib extension, and you'd go from the 0 to the 3 to the 4. And obviously we have to see how far this price comes. Maybe it comes a bit lower, who knows? Like if the price comes like that, then obviously this 4 would be to there, wherever the price comes. At the moment it's at the moment the price is here. Yeah, if you do it from the 0 to the 3 to the 4, then your 1618 comes to about 37 cents. Yeah, and I think that would be the fair target. That would be the target, like up into that echelon. So much higher than what I was initially thinking, which was around the 20 cents. And that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I'm kind of imagining a more of an expansive final wave if this 4 holds and we have an expansion. And that would make sense. I think it'd be really weird to have 3 shitty waves, like a shitty 1, a shitty 3, and a shitty 5. I think that would be really weird. I don't really... No. And that would basically push us into possibly here, the top part of the golden pocket, right up into that 168. Now, again, it all depends on, so this is the 2 from here. That's fine, that doesn't even matter. That's the 0, that's the 3. So it all depends on this 4, how low it gets. Does it get a bit lower? And let's say it gets a little bit lower. Let's say we come down into the daily level and just wick back up just to there, and we'll have to see. And so yeah, so then the 1618, you see that it lines up perfectly with the top part of the golden pocket, potentially up there. And then when you throw in your fib time that I've got, is that the right one? No, I've got 2, but that one was, I was messing about with that one. Bull market timings, no. Bull market channels, no. Ranges, no. Range, no. Where is it? Right, I'll just do it again. It's not a big deal. I'll just do it again. So the fib time that I have drawn is, I'll do it on the weekly chart because it's better. From there, the first candle to this low to this high. And as you can see, the 0.618 comes on this all-time low, and potentially then I'll be looking for this to come here like that. That's kind of what I'm imagining right now if we hold here. And that would potentially, it would, I mean, look, it depends on how this 4 is going to, how low this gets, going to be important. I do want to hold this level. Like I think it has to hold for this to play out, and that would be the expansive move. And you're coming into key higher time frame resistance at the right time on an extension, on a fib extension, which would be the 5th wave of this first whole wave. Yeah, and then we'd be looking for an ABC corrective move, and probably aiming for 9 cents. That would be my best guess if this was to play out. But who knows? Like we can't predict the future. It could correct. It depends. Like if you get a flat correction, if you get like a deeper correction, who knows? So these are like some ideas that I have. I don't want people to panic if this isn't correct, because the only thing we can do is try to analyze what could happen, but ultimately the markets will tell us, will dictate. And that's really how we, you know, and then we look back and we see what the market is saying, and then we can try to analyze it and make future predictions based on new data. But at the moment it looks good. I don't really have a problem with the way the price is moving. I'm still buying, so I don't mind that we corrected down from 9 cents to 3 cents or whatever, 3.7, because it's just allowed me, not only did this injection of volume give me the confidence that I needed to buy more, but it's also allowed me to accumulate more at much cheaper prices. So actually this behavior has done me personally a massive favor. Like I actually don't mind this. When I'm looking at the candle formations, now this is really important. Delete this now. So the weekly time frame is about to close, right? And a green candle is bullish, a red candle is bearish. This is like, you have to understand the difference. If it's red, it means bears are now in control, and so we have to see what next week holds for us. If it's green, it means bulls are in control still. And then we have to see what the week holds for us, you know. So we have to see how the candle closes today. And we also have to see if all the charts are saying the same thing. So at the moment, they're all green. We have green weekly candles, slightly reducing volume, well, more, quite significant reduction in volume. But with the price has basically not moved from the week open last week till now. The price hasn't really moved. Yeah. I think it'd be more. I think I'd be more concerned if it was expanded and the volume had reduced. Where because the price has reduced and the volume has gone down, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we have to see. I think if it's possible. You see, I think next week is going to be really important, because if next week then ends up as a red candle, and the red candle closes lower than this week, lower than that wick. Next week is a red candle and it closes lower. That's not looking good, yeah, because you've closed lower, and it's a red candle, so that looks like it could then go down. So, in terms of the way the candles form, it's not looking good. That wouldn't look good. But at the moment it doesn't look bad. At the moment it looks okay, yeah. And obviously in every situation, the most bullish situation, the bullish scenario is a strong close above the previous week high. So we're not in that situation. We're not in a situation where we have a crazy strong close up there, where the price has expanded all the way up to there, and then that'd be really bullish. I think if that was to happen, a lot of people would jump in and try and push it further. So we're still in a kind of a correction stage of this potentially this wave 3. Are there any more questions? No one say anything. Right, it's just me. No problem. What else do I have in mind? Let me just quickly have a look at the TRVL BTC chart to see if there's anything. Yeah, this actually looks more bullish than the price chart, you see, because we're above the point of control. We're above this previous pivot low, yeah. So I think the Bitcoin chart looks more bullish than the USD chart. So we have to see how this plays out. Like, I like this chart now, whereas before I was kind of hating this chart. I think now with this chart, things are falling into place. If you see on the weekly time frame, we're finally above in the top part of the Bollinger half of the Bollinger Bands, and generally speaking, that's what you need to happen for the price to expand upwards. You need to be in the correct part of the Bollinger Bands. Like, you're not going to expand the bands if you're in the lows here. And I did say that in a previous stream. I said, I think the Bitcoin chart needs some work. It needs to get into the top half. And so finally, it looks like we're in the top half. We're holding in the top half. So naturally, just the longer we are here, the more bullish it's going to look for TRVL. And on the TRVL versus ETH, again, we're above the point of control. We're in the top half again. You see the Bollinger Bands, the weekly time frame. We're now in the top half above this midpoint. So this line here is a 20 moving average, and it's the midpoint of the Bollinger Bands. And generally speaking, you need to be in the correct half of the Bollinger Bands for an expansive move into that direction. Yeah, you're not going to expand upwards if you're in the lows of the Bollinger Band. It just doesn't work like that. You can bear that in mind. So the other thing that I was noticing, and this is something else that I think this is really bullish potentially, is that, and let me show you quickly. Let me hide this. Get rid of this shit. So if I pull up my moving averages, the 50 and the 200, and if I go to the daily chart, this is TRVL versus ETH. We're above the 50 moving average, and it's the same kind of idea that I had with the USDT price chart with TRVL. I have it in my mind that we're going to form a golden cross on this too, and I see that with Bitcoin. So if I go back 50 periods, I can see now that the bars, we're losing bars from this candle here from onwards, you know. So the candles that we're losing are here, are these candles, the closes of these candles. So as time passes now, over the next week or two, all of these closes are going to come out of the equation, and now we're going to add higher closes. Yeah, where as long as we're higher than the 50, the 50 is going to start moving upwards. Yeah, and then the same idea is that as long as you go back 200, see 200 is here, so we're going to lose these candles, and these are higher, replacing them with lower candles. Yeah, so the 200 is actually going to continue going downwards, slightly downwards. Yeah, so I do foresee a golden cross on the TRVL versus ETH chart, and I'm also seeing exactly the same behavior on Bitcoin, slightly laggard, but it's kind of trying to do the same thing, right? So in the same idea applies. If you go back 50 candles, 50 periods, which is there, to that big expansive candle there, you're looking at losing from that candle all the closes in this range now, and now we're looking to replace them with higher numbers from here onwards. And what that means is that this 50 moving average is going to start making its way up, and we're probably looking at exactly the same situation with the 200. Let me see. So the 200 is going to go flat because we're going to start losing it from here to here. Yeah, and we're kind of in that same area now. So what I'm expecting is for this 200 to go flatter, not necessarily down. And so it won't be a short period of time before we have a golden cross on this chart too. So I think it's really, I mean, this is just, you can't trade it, but I think it's good, huh? That's all we want. We want golden crosses on all the charts. I think that everything is gearing up for something big. That's what I'm seeing in the charts. The charts are telling me we're getting ready for something big. Yeah, we've shown a little bit of strength in the injection of volume. We've cleared this previous range, which we're holding support at the moment. The support is above this high, which is bullish. As long as we're consolidating above this previous high, we're bullish. And as long as we're not coming back into this lower range, we're bullish. We're reducing volume on this consolidation range, so the selling is becoming more and more diminished over time. And I think the price is gearing up for something big. That's what it looks like to me. And I'm expecting an expansive move. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting an expansive move. I think it all correlates as well with what is about to be released and launched in the fundamentals of Dtravel. I don't know if people realize how bullish certain things are about to happen in the real world when it comes to Dtravel. Some bullish things. And I'm not just talking about bullish things, and I'm not making that up. You know, when that Sensei AI search engine is launched, people are going to be able to see what's being built for the last 2 years. Like, for the first time, they're going to be able to see it. It's going to be aired, and every single kind of punter is going to be able to go on that search engine, search for a property in London, wherever, and book an apartment. But cheaper than Airbnb, cheaper than booking.com, cheaper than VRBO. Exactly the same apartments, but sometimes not. Sometimes new apartments, new properties, because not all the properties will be on those centralized platforms. I think when people see that, they're going to be like, okay, now I understand, now I get it. Yeah. And then when they go and do their research and they see, oh my God, this is peer-to-peer now. Peer-to-peer. The transactions are smart contracts. Yeah. With a better insurance package than Airbnb, and with a lot of things coming down the line. So the big change is that all of the transactions are going to be on chain in terms of the way the reservations are recorded. I'm not the transactions, the way the reservation data is recorded. And so the team have been working on a layer 2 to do that. They couldn't do it on ETH because it was too costly in terms of the gas fees. So they've been working hard with developing that on a layer 2, and that's what was the news item from last week. They announced it, basically saying that there's a co-marketing plan with a major L2 that's about to be launched. So this is like some big stuff is about to happen. The other thing that's going to be really big for Dtravel is wallet as a service, and that basically allows every single person who's signed up to Dtravel, whether they're a host or a traveler, to have a wallet. And all of a sudden, the number of people potentially able to hold TRVL and buy TRVL is going to increase exponentially, because you'll be able to do that through Dtravel now and store it in your wallet. So that's also quite a significant bullish maneuver. And then the last thing, I think, which is probably in my mind the most important thing, are the tokenomics changes that are being proposed, that will be proposed. And that we've been waiting for that for a while now, but the team has taken their time to work on those documents, and I think they want a clear and full explanation as to why certain changes and how they're going to be beneficial for the value, to give the token value. And I think fundamentally the thesis for the tokenomics changes will be a store of value. So I think that's the shift in narrative. It's not just going to be utility, it will be store of value. And so that will be the shift in that. And it makes sense, because all of a sudden you have this physical real world network that's injecting value into this token. So the value is going to come from this real world network. And then what you want is you want a tokenomics model that's going to retain the value. The value isn't going to diminish, it's going to grow. And that will be the backbone of the tokenomics. And then we have to see what they propose. Whatever they propose, it will be it will go to a vote on the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Every token holder and TRVL will have a say on the future. I'm just one person, you know, there's everyone's voice matters in that regard. So I'm quite bullish on this, actually. David says good morning. Oh my God, I got 5 concurrent streamers. I know that Craig is here, possibly Dan if he's still here, and then David, welcome. So David, I was seeing some bearish CVD on Bitcoin earlier, so just bear that in mind. All right, I have to go very soon, but I've promised that I'm going to chart this new chart. So let me just quickly find it. What did I say it was? MA has asked for this one, liquid crypto. So let me just quickly do, I'm going to do really quick, because and if no one's interested in this, then fine, Hi, Brian. How's it going? Good morning. +1. Hi. Nice to see you. Wow. Got a few people. That's amazing. Welcome. And obviously, if anyone has any like tokens they want me to have a look at, I'm happy to look at it. Just post it in the comments or just on Twitter or whatever, and I'll have a look at it. But this one I'm going to be really quick, and then I have to go. So, liquid crypto, no idea what it is. Let me just see what the markets are first. Oh, there they are. Pancakes are on MEX. So it's on MEX. It's been around since only December. So it's a brand new token. Right. There's like 1,000 brand new tokens on a daily basis now. So I think a lot of people have to be careful because I think a lot of them are scams. Just my personal opinion. You know, people are so desperate to make quick money that anyway. So we literally have no data. When did it launch on MEX? January the 24th. So it's been around since December. Is it on Pancake Swap? Let me try something. Pancake Swap. Let's see. Can we see a chart on Pancake Swap? January the 14th. The other site that I look for is Dex Guru. If anyone's used that, let's have a look at Dex Guru. Oh, so Brian has said, nice analysis. Found you when I was looking up travel TRVL. Not many on YouTube speak about. Well, here I am. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. I'm quite passionate about it because I really think that fundamentally it's potentially a game changer fundamentally, not even just on the crypto element. So I think we stand a chance, and I think once Dtravel becomes bigger in terms of value, it's going to attract a lot of the bigger investors, because a lot of the big investors are waiting. They don't really mess around with small market cap tokens or projects. They're waiting for the projects to become a bit more significant, a bit more recognized, and then they're going to inject capital. So if we get to a certain level, I don't know when it's going to be, potentially 200 million, 500 million, who knows? Like, no one really knows. Like, maybe a billion. Once we get to that level, then I think a lot of these like bigger hedge capital, like venture funds, whatever, they're going to be looking at this very seriously, and they're going to be taking a big chunk out of TRVL, because then they will begin to imagine the same thing that we're suggesting, which is that we could in the future take on Airbnb. And I think when they'll look at Airbnb and they'll go, okay, Airbnb is a $90 billion market cap, why not? Why wouldn't they? All right, sorry, that was just another idea. So yeah, so we have it here. Let me see if they have more data here. Oops, I should have done that. 10-minute chart, daily chart. I really hate this Dex Guru. So look, the data comes from this, okay? You see that? And I don't know how and where they launched. Problem with Dex Guru is that it doesn't give you the volume data, which is what I want. Oh, it does. That's new. Amazing. All right, so there's no, where's my toolbar? This sucks. This screen is really shit. Huh? That's the best I can do. So problem number one is that the point of control. God. Oh shit! Look at this. I'm stuck. Just refresh it now. I'll be really quick. Sorry, guys. No one's really interested in this, especially since it's not working. All right. All right, there it is. So problem number one, the point of controls in the highs. That's a real problem. So if we go back to this, how low do they get? Let me see what this is saying. There's nothing really to analyze. Like, this is the thing. You've just launched on Nex, right? And there's obviously no bullish interest in this token, obviously, because if there was, this would start going up immediately. Yeah. There's obviously no community at the moment. They still haven't developed their community, and there's no hype around this token at the moment. That's what I'm seeing. So it's basically off the radar. Liquid crypto. It's got a big following crowd, really big. See, they've announced on Nex, and they don't really, I mean, they got a few tweets and stuff. Give me a second. Let me just have a look at their website as well. Let me just have a good feel of this. And 15%. It's not much. In crypto terms, it's not much. Just got to bear that in mind. Website. Let's look at this. The easiest way to buy, sell, swap, and rewards on your digital atom. What's that app? Let's have a look at the app. Connect wallet. Buy, sell. It looks quite interesting. I don't know what it is. It's good to have a look at the team. I don't mind it because it does look okay. You know, it looks nice. I don't really know what it is. Australian-based company that aims to deliver a transparent and fair platform for various crypto-related projects. The main distinction we pride ourselves on is making all our products simple to use. I just don't know what it is, though. That's the thing. Like, I'd like to know It's not very clear. I mean, maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure it out, but I just want a clear communication of, like, it's DeFi, right? But oh, here it is. Hold on. Liquid Plus is a revolutionary DEX. So it's a DEX, all right? Unlike any other, we curate the highest performing and most robust liquidity pools to create a one-stop platform for astute investors. Choose from over 900 individual pools, or if you prefer, use our custom aggregated index baskets to create passive wealth by offering your digital assets as liquidity. With no human or machine intermediaries, your assets are safe as all the transactions are using secure smart contract architecture. Total value locked, $1.183569 million. It's all right. It's a DEX. That's good, huh? I think it's good. Yeah. All right. See you, Craig. Nice one. He has to go. So I think it's a DEX. So yeah. Why not? More. We need DEXs. More DEXs. Let's go. So I think it's quite a new DEX, and it's obviously very speculative. It launched at a very low price, like a really low price. What's the market cap? At the moment, the market cap is $6 million, and the volume of trading is quite high, huh? Like 300,000. It's quite good, got quite good volume, yeah. But it's always had pretty good volume, huh? I just think it's an accumulation. Like, it's a brand new DEX. The volume here is increasing. That's probably because of the MEX launch. You see that? So you have a good volume now on MEX. This to me looks like an accumulation range, right? And this probably will continue for a while. Probably. You have to bear in mind that the point of control is in the highs according to Dex Guru, and this is on the total range going back to 19th of December. If this wants to go up, it has to flip that point of control into support, or the point of control needs to move down lower to a lower level because there's more volume at the lows. Yeah, but you do have a level here at 0.145. You just got to bear in mind that the original investors are sitting in a lot of profit right now because the token supply, the tokens they got were at launch price, which according to this is really low. Basically zero, huh? I don't know. It doesn't really say. What does it say the all-time low is here? I'll put it here. Copy and paste isn't working. It's annoying. 0.09713. Yeah, no, that's your all-time low, yeah? So just bear that in mind. I don't know what this wick is. It'd be nice to catch this, get this price at the lows. Like, I think if you want to accumulate this, just accumulate at the lows. Yeah, just buy the lows. And I think a healthy consolidation range is going to form, and then you can see what happens. You know, just see where the volume. I think this might consolidate for a while. Like, it's only just launched on this exchange. it's very possible this carries on for a few months, to be honest with you. And then once they start picking up interest and people start speculating, I think once you have a long consolidation period, it'll be a lot easier to trade because it looks like it's quite new. What's the all-time high? So I'll tell you where I would be interested in picking up this token. 116 is here. I'll show you. 16. So actually the all-time high is much higher. It's here. I'll just type that in. That's the all-time high. So just be careful because the chart on MEX doesn't show it correctly. And then if you do a fib retracement from the low to the high, yeah, so there you go. Basically this, so that you could, what you could think about is, let's go down SFP this low, and then technically a trade, that would be your trade on an SFP of that low into the golden pocket. That's a technical trade, and you trade that back up to potentially the all-time high, but actually you have to clear this resistance at this previous range. So you'd have to potentially, you take the SFP, if you want to trade this somehow, go down SFP, and then your target will be the value area low. That's your trade. You take the SFP, as the price comes above that previous level, you'd enter, you have a small invalidation. That's your trade, and that could be the significant low for the rest of this bull market. That could be, you never know, you know. So you'd obviously take your profit and you'd have a runner on that trade. Or if you're just accumulating, then every time you take you hit a new low or a low like that, then you just add some more and you just accumulate. Yeah, and obviously we don't know if that is gonna happen. This might go down again. It could keep on doing that, you know. It could just keep on making new lows until you change the trend and start going up. Is the trend up or down? No, at the moment the trend is sideways, but there is going to be a trend forming soon on the local level, and you have to see how that plays out. I don't know if this is going to happen, but that would be your first trade, and that's the trade that I'd be interested in. All right, I hope that helps. Remind me and I'll have a look at it again in a few months' time for you, but I don't think there's anything else to say. It looks like a healthy project. It's a DEX. I like DEXs. They'll always do well. All right. I hope everyone's had fun, and I've had fun with everyone. So have a wonderful Sunday and take care. The one concurrent viewer watching. Bye.